Hello everyone, welcome to the Commexis cast, all the news you need to know from our inbox to yours. Today we're talking about YouTube allocating $25 million in the fight against fake news on the platform. Hello everyone, I'm Matthew McGrody, the videographer and a podcaster here at Commexis, and today I'm joined by the lead strategist at Commexis, Philip Brooks.
Good.
So today we're talking a lot about YouTube. It was just announced that they're going to be putting $25 million towards an initiative to help fight fake news on the platform. They did not necessarily call it fake news. They called it more, I believe it was conspiratorial content. They're looking to add more weight to, quote, authoritative news sources over unverified conspiracy-style material on the platform. We don't have really any concept or plan of how they are going to be executing this, just that is the amount of money that's going to be going towards it. You may remember, many things. First, Facebook doing something very similar on their platform multiple times in an effort to sort of fight against this either conspiratory type content or news that they did not consider to be as authoritative. And you might also remember YouTube's many controversies with different kinds of videos, but in particular I'm talking about the YouTube Kids app controversy, where people were able to experience algorithmically some conspiracy videos that may or may not have been appropriate for children. I would say in general, probably not appropriate, though some of them were particularly gruesome in their depictions.
Yeah,
and
the strange thing was just simply that the way the algorithm was working, it was pulling these keyword-sensitive videos into the feed for children, and I'm not sure why they weren't being excluded. Why there wasn't some sort of setting that's I don't know what they're. I don't know if they're relying on creators to say this is 18+ content kind of thing in this case, and if they don't pick anything, does it automatically just default to every audience kind of size? I'm not sure, but yeah, that was going on a while back. And there's also a whole other subset, which is the videos being displayed on the right, these suggested videos, and having those not necessarily being congruous with the brand messaging for anybody's stuff that's on the left side. So if there's anybody brand sensitive content and there's something over here that's completely crazy, that's whole nother channel.
That is a great point. And one of the things that YouTube did in that instance of the YouTube Kids app is that they're coming out with a YouTube Kids app that is completely safeguarded and not using any algorithm at all. Don't know why exactly they chose to go with just completing a new app instead of updating their current one and making it safer for children, but that is in the hands of the parents from now on, I suppose. But back to the news story. So Neal Mohan, Chief Product Officer at YouTube, said, by putting that front and center, that's one of the biggest things we can do to ensure users are getting access to high quality information. They did say that they are not going to be removing content. They are just going to be marking it as conspiratorial content, or further emphasizing more authoritative content. So news events are going to be questioned, rightly or wrongly. People will have a conspiratorial opinion. We want users to make decisions for themselves. That is why they are not removing this content. Other policy shifts include a move to include text articles in people's feeds during breaking news events until news organizations are able to compile accompanying video. I think that is actually a very interesting and cool change. And then the platform will also introduce an information panel which promotes verified content, including that from local sources when people view videos. I think that is also a potentially really nice thing that YouTube will be able to implement. So on one hand, I think there's some really cool initiatives from this. On the other hand, some things that I'm not sure will exactly pan out properly. One of the things that YouTube did announce a while back, only a couple months ago, was that certain conspiracy videos are going to have Wikipedia excerpts kind of explaining and debunking or giving more information on why that video is either false or conspiratory. One of the things they did was not tell Wikipedia about this, which is also kind of a problem. They also didn't really explain how that process was going to be involved, other than some of these videos that are flagged like this will have this little excerpt. So I'm really interested in seeing how this kind of pans out, because that sort of was not a great idea in the sense of they didn't work with Wikipedia directly. They just said, oh, well, this is open source, we're just going to take from it, which can, you know, lead to some problems. Not to mention...
at the very least of which being, if it's a fairly obscure subject, somebody could just go in there and edit the actual existing Wikipedia entry scary. So
that is a great point. I mean, obviously we don't know how they were going to be pulling this information and like, for example, what's the refresh rate on something like that, and they wouldn't tell us that because then people obviously would be able to go and edit Wikipedia pages and stuff like that. So I understand that aspect. It's just one of those things where I feel like unless this is not done properly, it will not really help solve the issue. And one of the things that this also reminds me of is, they talk about they don't want to remove the content, and I completely understand why they do not want to make it seem like they are silencing voices in their community. Well, instead, they can do that by demonetizing videos that are questionable or running weird ads and stuff like that. So those are small complaints, but it's not like we haven't seen them do that in the past. So, for example, after the San Bernardino shooting, they updated their policy to not allow certain videos and content involving guns, specifically homemade. Why can't I think of the word, Philip? Help me out. Homemade.
The
like bump stocks and stuff like that. Yeah. So homemade customizations, basically. So people were having their videos demonetized or removed for that. There was a whole big push. There was an NPR article. If I can find it, I'll link it in the blog post. But we have seen them remove content like this. So it's very odd to me that they wouldn't go. Hey,
I mean, I guess the key is to consider, first of all, the amount of manpower it would take to have to sit through and watch all these videos just to verify whether or not they would be willing to remove them.
That is a good point.
Secondly, obviously, we know that YouTube's owned by Google. Google has shown that they're, as far as their advertising dollars and things like that, they're not going to do, for certain types of pharmaceuticals, male enhancements, weapons, fireworks, things like that. So, you do have a history of censoring certain types of content based on their own moral obligations that they feel. However, with YouTube, I feel like it's a little more difficult because in order to fully vet the content, you have to somebody has to physically watch the whole video. And again, the other key idea is you're talking about vetting sources, but who posts sources to a YouTube video when they're talking about content? So unless it's the actual originating source of posting the video, I don't know how they police that portion of it either.
No, I think you have a good point. It's one of those things that frustrates me when they say, obviously we don't know exactly what they're going to be doing yet. I think some of the things that they mentioned about breaking news and stuff like that is a great starting point. But it frustrates me personally as somebody who really thinks YouTube creator culture and stuff like that is really interesting, and I like the YouTube platform, that they'll do things like, hey, here are some conspiracy videos. Let's just say the moon landing conspiracy, for example, and they say, we're not going to necessarily remove that. I kind of understand that one, but let's say it was something a little more extreme, or a little more violent, or something like that, some weird conspiracy like that. We won't remove this content, but we will demonetize some random person because they put a slightly negative connotation on their title of their YouTube video, right? So it's very weird to me that they're the way in which they're trying to balance these things that feel like they're not being balanced properly. Right. But that's just me. That's Matt's opinion corner right there. So I don't know. Do you have any?
It really grinds Matt's gears.
It really does. Yeah. Thanks. Any final comments before we?
I think we covered it. Like I said, the key with this is it's a slippery slope when you start doing that, and that's why you have to really step into it as gingerly as possible, because once you start, you kind of can't stop, and you have to determine. You have to decide as an organization how far you're willing to go with this, and again, I think that to call back to the statement that you made about the YouTube Kids app, I think they realized that in order to do this right, they had to completely revamp everything. And I think that in order to do this the way that it needs to be done, they're kind of taking half measures, and then ultimately it's going to wind up being obvious that they're taking half measures.
Yeah. So we'll see, obviously, as this expands and as this continues through, what ends up happening with this. Obviously, they have not mentioned sort of, other than they're going to be emphasizing authoritative news sources. They haven't really talked too much about it. And
look for our video on how the moon landing was faked right after this.
Exactly.
Matt's going to put that together right.
It's going to be fantastic, of course. So we'll keep you up to date on this, because I'm super interested in this, and I really want to see both what the things that I mentioned were really good, how those end up looking, and the way those are presented, as well as the way the other things that they really haven't been talking too much about, how those are going to end up and be presented. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to today's episode of the Commexis Cast. Check us out next time for more of the latest trending news. Philip, thank you for joining me adjacent to the table today.
It's my
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thank you. If you'd like to listen to more of us, you guys can check us out on SoundCloud, the iTunes Podcast Store, TuneIn, Stitcher, the Google Play Music Store, and the Google Podcast app. And if you'd like to watch us, you can check us out in full on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV, and you can get some nice little snippets of us from Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Until next time, have a great day.